Do I have enough caffeine? Good? Alrighty. Hello, everybody. My name is Greygal. I have been playing Eve for more than 10 years. I have been FCing, for better or worse, for more than 8 years, and I am hoping to share some of my experience and misadventures in FCing to encourage you to take a leap of faith, step into the big chair, and give FCing a try yourself. We need more FCs, definitely in Eve. So, first thing is, what's a fleet? A fleet is the fundamental social construct in Eve. Not what you're expecting me to say, I'm sure. But it really is. It is the foundational and most core social connection we have in Eve. It is where we it's where we build trust. It's where we learn to work together. It's where teams are built. It's where we actually build things like loyalty to our corporations, to our alliances, and especially to FCs. And if you're a corp CEO or an alliance executive, you need to be nice to your FCs because your players are going to be always most loyal to those who provide content. So if you're mean to your FCs, or, can't curse, they leave, they're going to take a bunch of your active members with them. So be nice to your FCs, encourage new FCs in particular. Anyway, I'm digressing already. Fleets are critical, absolutely critical to activity and retention in Eve. And when I say fleets in this case, in this paradigm, I'm not just talking PvP fleets, I'm talking any kind of fleet. Because the sooner you get people in a fleet, the more they start engaging with other players. Eve is a social game. The more that they're likely to keep logging on, the more they're likely to stay in the game. So how important is fleets to retention? They are the excuse we log on, as I say, but I have some statistics on this. A lot of statistics on this, but I won't get into all of them. When I was about 8 years ago, I joined a corporation, an alliance called Agony Unleashed. And from 2006 to 2016, they ran a little project called PvP University. Agony was the first NPSI slash public Rome community. And a couple of times a month, they would do this thing called PvP Basic. It was a class, a few hours lecture and practical exercises followed by a big Rome. And thousands, almost 10,000 players over 10 years actually went through a PvP Basic class. And I worked really, I loved it. I went on they saved me. They're the reason I'm still playing. And eventually I joined them and I so wanted to be in PvP University. I wanted to lead it. I wanted to teach one of those classes and take the new players out on the roams because it was a mix of new players and players new to PvP. So first time, I worked for months and months and months, learning everything I needed to learn, learning their process and how they ran everything. And finally they say, Gigi, it's your turn. You get to take out a class this time and take out the fleet. This is your first time leading the PvP Basic class. So about 60 people in fleet, 33 people who were new players, and by new players I define them as under 3 months. And we're in high sec, and I'm just explaining how to align and what a tactical above the gate is, and somebody says, there's a red in local. And I'm like, oh, it's high sec. I don't worry about reds in high sec. And then suddenly, boom, got the whole fleet ganked in high sec. Every last one. The only person who didn't die was me. So, why do I talk about that? Because you would think after the first time experience in a fleet, getting ganked in high sec, that would be a terrible, terrible thing, right? That people would be like, I'm never going to play this game again. 87% of them were still playing a year later. Of those people that were in that first class, and I had lots of flubs. I got the fleet completely whelped and on the roam 6 times. Okay, 87% though were still playing a year later. 3 apparently never logged on again, but it continued. 2 years later, 66% were still playing. 3 years later, 60%. goes on all the way until today. Of those 33 new players, all been in the game less than 3 months, 4 of them have been in the game for less than a week. 12% of them are still playing. And one of them is one of those 4 that had been in the game less than a week. All right. I went through, Agony kept remarkable records of all the classes they ran, all the students, all the pilots that joined one of their classes, whether or not they were new to the game or new to PvP. And I analyzed all of that data. And over the 10 years that they ran PvP University, they had an average 82%. 82% were still playing the game a year later. After 2.5 years with Agony, I started Redemption Roads and Affirmative Alliance. And Redemption Roads, we do public roams. And we created a much shorter thing called the Nubro Room that we run every month. And I've had about 6,000 pilots go through that in the last 6 years. And even though this is just a single day roam and we spend about 20 minutes going through things, and then while we're roaming, I over-explain everything, big time. I have an average 70.5% of new players that are still playing a year later. And when I went through all of those stats between these two organizations, I realized something, because this is public, okay? So everybody's coming from different backgrounds, and they're in different corporations, different environments in EVE, different alliances. The only thing that was consistent with all of them, and it carried through to new to PvP players, was the fact that they got into a fleet. And the earlier they got into a fleet, the longer they played the game. And it carried through also with the players who had been playing for a year or so and then got into their first PvP fleet. The retention rate, whether they were still playing a year or not later compared to people who had not been in a fleet, was also in about the 62, 65%. But the longer players wait to get into a fleet, especially a PvP fleet. Sorry about the microphone handling. The more set in their ways they get. This is the way I play EVE, and this is the way EVE is played. So they're much less likely to get into a fleet. But when people get into a fleet younger or sooner in game, they're more likely to seek out fleets. They're more likely to join fleets. They're more likely to join corporations with fleet activity, regardless of the type of fleet it is. So this means we need FCs. It also means you can get your entire fleet ganked in high sec, and they're not going to quit EVE. So what is a fleet commander? The decision maker. That is the #1 job of a fleet commander. Your job is to make decisions. Your job isn't to run Logi at the same time you're FCing. Your job isn't to dual box. Your job is to make decisions. And there's a lot of decisions to be made, and the most important decision, of course, is to delegate. The more you delegate, the more engaged your fleet members are in the fleet, the more likely they are to actually fly with you, because they become part and parcel of the importance and the effectiveness of the fleet. One moment. Everybody wants to be the hero. So by getting people in the fleet and giving them a job to do and delegating things like scouting or broadcasting, being the map watcher, watching local, anything you can delegate them, because it helps your fleet members become more engaged in the fleet itself and feel like they matter, because they do. Because a fleet without fleet members is just you and your alts. So yep, got that. Okay, your next most important decision is to define winning. What is the win condition for your fleet? EVE is a sandbox, okay? Some people think kill boards matter. No, but that's how some people define winning. Some people define winning by, oh, we killed every one of them. Well, sure, fine. That maybe we still felt like we won because we were risk positive. You define what is the win condition for your fleet. Maybe the win condition for your fleet is you made it all the way around the entire universe. Maybe you made it to a destination. Maybe you got a certain amount of ISK. Maybe you spammed local with a bunch of limericks, which is, I will get to that too, because you are the party planner. So you decide what kind of fleet it is and the win condition. So why should you FC? Because you want content. You want a reason to log on. Number one reason you should FC is because you want a reason to log on. You don't want to feel obligated, and it will happen, especially if you FC for a while. It starts to become an obligation. And if you find yourself, digging FCing and just starting to log on because people expect you to log on and lead them on a fleet, it's going to take away the joy. So think about, that's something to think about a little later on as you get more experienced with FCing. But it is something it's one of those little gotchas with FCing. If you find yourself feeling obligated to FC, then it's not so much fun. And you're logging on not because you want to, not because you want content, but because of them. So you want to hang out with your friends. You want to increase activity and retention. I kind of talked about retention already. Again, corporations and alliances with FCs that are providing content, even if it's getting everybody ganked in ISAC, increase activity, increase retention. You want to be a better fleet member. Even if you only try FCing one time in your entire EVE career, you are a better fleet member in every fleet you are ever in again from that, because you have a better understanding of what it's like to be the FC. You are more able to anticipate what your FC is going to want. You're more likely to actually take on support roles within the fleet, like the scouting role or broadcasting and things. You want to learn more about EVE in the ultimate hands-on manner, because you memorize all the stats of a ship and stuff, but sometimes those become a little meaningless when you're fighting them. And it's always evolving. It's always, stop talking my hands. It's always changing and evolving, and how a group of ships interacts with another group of ships changes all the time based on simple decisions made by the FC, made by the fleet members, based on how they're fit, how they're positioned. One time a fleet of 30 destroyers is going to absolutely annihilate that little fleet, of like 5 confessors. The next time, those 5 confessors might annihilate you, because it's always evolving based on all the different parameters. You want to learn and practice practical real-life skills. Delegation being a really, really good real-life skill. Personally, I always considered myself quite good at delegation. Then I started FCing, and I became much better at letting go and trusting the people in my fleet and the people in teams at work to do their job. If I tell them what needs to be done and then I get out of their way and let them do it, they will rise up to the challenge and exceed your expectations over and over and over again. So if you're really bad at delegating, FC. It will help you a lot. It helps with learning how to communicate better and keeping things a lot shorter and crisper, because an FC who says to your scout, okay, so I need you to warp over to that gate and then align around it and kind of see if you can find this guy over there and all. Well, really all you needed to say is, check the out gate. If you over-explain it, this is true in real life a lot, but if you over-explain it and anything to your fleet members while you're FCing, they're going to, you're going to miss opportunities to kill. And you're probably going to get your fleet killed. And you're going to annoy everybody, because it's like, look, man, I've been scouting for 12 years. I know what to do, okay? You don't need to tell me. And I kind of touched on this already. You want EVE to be exciting, different, and new every time you undock. And it really is. You never know what you're going to find. Undock set a destination to a random point in the universe, and who knows what might happen. You might end up getting hot dropped or something, but maybe you get a shiny kill. You never know what's going to happen. So let's talk about fear, because fear is probably the number one reason people do not try FCing. And fear of making a mistake is probably the number one fear. There are no mistakes in EVE. There's no mistakes in life, in my opinion. There's only really good times or learning opportunities. And if you look at it as a really good time or a learning opportunity, you always come out ahead. You've always gained something from it. So the only real way we learn, of course, is through mistakes. You don't really learn much from doing something right, especially doing something right over and over again, because if you're doing it right, you already know it, right? But if you are making mistakes, you are learning from it and getting better, which comes down to, I'm going to skip ahead here, to fear of being bad. You're not bad, you're learning. And if you're learning, you're getting better. And if you're getting better, you're getting something out of it, right? So don't worry about being bad. I got an entire player fleet ganked in high sec. Trust me. It doesn't get much worse than that. Well, yeah, actually it does. But people are still flying with me, so I must be doing something right. As long as you're learning, you're getting better. And as long as you're getting better, the people who fly with you are getting better too, because you're providing them with more opportunities to be flying in the specialized roles that they are choosing and getting better at that too. So, fear of losing ships. All ships are temporary, Eve. They're all disposable. Don't fall in love with your ships. They're just going to die eventually. If you undock it, consider it gone. Anybody who undocks with you, especially with me, knows they're going to lose the ship, okay? Matter of fact, they kind of get disappointed if I actually bring the fleet back alive. It means we didn't find a fight. All ships are disposal. If you're really worried about it, and of course I'm going to encourage you to stick to frigates and destroyers anyway, stick to the cheap ships. You don't need to provide your fleet members with ships, because then they're flying with you because, well, you're giving them a ship, instead of flying with you because they want to be in fleet. They want to be engaged. They want to have fun. So if you're really worried about it, go out in rookie ships, corvettes, they call them now. Go on a fleet of rookie ships. I do it on the first of the year every year, the Happy Noob Room. And we average about 2 billion in kills using Velators and Ibises, okay? I mean, and nobody cares that, yeah. Fear you don't know all the ships. I definitely don't know all the ships. I've been playing over 10 years. I will never know all the ships. Almost every fleet has a walking Eve encyclopedia as a fleet member. Rely on that person. Rely on your fleet. Trust your fleet. Ask questions. What's that? This just happened last week, okay? I'm kind of like, what's a Kikamura, right. What is that? And then I got like a 20-word explanation followed by, no, actually it's this, and it started the debate. Okay, it's a triangulating ship. Do we kill it or not? It's already gone, But I didn't know what it is. I don't know what all the ships are. What is important, or what you should kind of focus on, is having a general rough idea of what the different hull types are. Knowing that frigates, especially in large numbers, are quite the little swarm of mosquitoes, that they're fast. Interceptors can be really tough to get tackle on. Destroyers are glass canyons. If you're alone on a gate in a Vexor, you're dead before they even tackle you. But just know the general hull types. Know that things, battleship sitting on the gate is either smart bombing or really, really tanky bait, okay? This is stuff you're going to learn as you go. But just having a general rough idea of what the different hull types are and how they may or may not interact with your fleet and what you're flying. Again, you'll gain it with experience, but it's something you can, you already know a lot of this as having flown in a fleet. But if you're a day one player and you want to go FC for the first time, and a day one player can FC, I'm not saying they should, but they can, you're not going to know those things, but it's something that's a lot simpler to learn, what the different hull types are. Fear you haven't played Eve long enough. God, this kills me a little. A little part of me dies every time somebody says that. I haven't played Eve long enough. I want to know Eve better. Well, the problem with waiting longer into your Eve career to give FCing a try is you get set in your ways. You get set in Learning Eve a specific way, you're a lot less likely to take risks. You're a lot more likely to be risk adverse. You're a lot more likely to only approach things a certain way because that's the way you learned it. You're a lot less likely to experiment. I actually strongly encourage people to try FCing as young as possible because it's also a lot cheaper, you know, when you're young. You know, it really is. Fortunately, we don't like lose, you know, pods. We don't have to pay for implants and pods or whatever it is for dying anymore. Okay, I think I covered all that. So let's get started FCing. So keep it simple. Stick to single hull types. Go out in a fleet of frigates or a fleet of destroyers, or my favorite still to this day is kitchen sink frigs and destroyers. But stick to a single hull type. Stick to a hull type that you're already familiar with if you can. But it's a lot easier to know how to engage if everybody in your fleet is in generally the same hull type. If it's a fleet of frigates, you know you can warp across a large system really fast, but if you got one guy in a Raven, it's going to take you 3 times as long or whatever to get across. If you got one guy in the Raven insisting in the Raven, send him +2. He can be bait. Keep it. It's good idea to lead fleets that you're kind of familiar with already, you know, like frigate or destroyer fleets. But it's okay to experiment and try things you haven't done. You know, maybe you do want to go out in a fleet established. Don't do that for your first room. But yeah, I really love, to this day even, short-range brawling fleets. High DPS short-range brawling fleets. Get in their face. You know, warp to the target, land on the target, kill the target, run away before the target's friends arrive. It's as simple as that. But you don't have to worry about knowing how to keep the fleet aligned at a range control, anchoring on you. Ugh. Every time somebody in a fleet says, so who do we anchor on? I want to like cry. It's like, no, you're flying your ship. You should fly your own ship. I'm not going to fly it for you. But short-range brawling ships, it's just really simple. You're just warping the fleet to the target and killing it, hopefully. Okay? At least for the first few times you try FCing, you want to stick to just 1 or 2 scouts reporting intel for you, because data overload is real. And data overload leads to freezing. You know, if you got 2 people giving you recon from 2 different areas at the same time, and you're kind of like still looking at Dotland trying to figure out, okay, all right, where is HE? And where are we? You know, and then you got another guy giving you recon from a system like just next door maybe or something. You get lost in trying to figure out what's going on and deciding what to do between the different recon reports and different intel reports, and then more and more, especially if you're flying with 4 or 5 scouts. You're just going to get overwhelmed. So stick to 1 or 2. Plus, it helps you build a relationship with your scout. And as an FC, boy, do you want to build a good relationship with your scouts. Keep it fun. You are the party planner. Now, I really dig theme rooms, like rookie ship rooms, tourism rooms, where the goal, the win condition for the room, is actually making to it, you know, like BTAC R, or let's go see Titan Mackie today. So if we happen to get completely annihilated on the way there, we still won because, you know, we had a fight. And that's what we're all logging on for, is the fight after all. And if we make it all the way there, hey, we won because we reached our goal. And then maybe we get in a good fight on the way back. Who knows? But tourism rooms are like really a good way to approach, and for a new FC to answer the question, what kind of roam to do? Because you don't have to worry so much about, you know, operations. I mean, achieving a strategic goal or something. And it's simple. Setting a destination and going. Local spam rooms, especially Limerick rooms, where your entire goal, the win condition for the fleet, is to spam local, you know, limericks or puns or quotes from, Yeah, in local, and as many systems as possible, and, you know, really irritate a lot of people in local. When we go into Providence, we like to spam the word repent. Yeah, we all the time. Karaoke rooms. Don't do a karaoke room the first time you FC. But after that, where you've got your scouts singing, and yeah, that can be interesting. Fail fit rooms. Fit your ship as the worst possible way you can. Let's see how much ISK we make. You know, how many kills we get. And yeah, things like that. YOLO bonsai rooms. If you're struggling with, these are really good if you're struggling with understanding and processing the information coming from a scout, and you're getting over focused on moving the fleet and plus having to listen to the scout. Just do a YOLO bonsai room where the whole fleet goes to the gate, jumps, goes to the gate, jumps. Just no scouting whatsoever. Let's see what kind of trouble we get in. You know, things like that. So Elmer Fudd room, where everybody talks like Elmer Fudd. Yeah, we did that in Agony a few times. You know, it's like, you know, primary is Queen Cleopatra. I still can't do that. Cop car rooms where everyone's in a comet with the skin, things like that. So think of fun things to do. And that way, the win condition is the fun of it, and not whether or not you all died or you killed anything. You define winning for your fleet, not the opponent, not the kill board. You, because you're the FC, and that's your decision to make. So before you undock, you want to set yourself and your scouts as priority speaker in TeamSpeak or Mumble or Discord, whatever you're using. But really important, you set yourself and your scouts as priority speaker. You want to set up your overview. You don't want fleet members on your overview. Much of this stuff I'm going to cover here real quick is stuff you already know as a fleet member if you've ever been in a fleet. You want to create a fleet, get people in the fleet, and then check fleet composition. This is probably the least used and least known tool in EVE. I've come across people who actively FC for years and didn't even know that fleet composition existed. It's in the fleet window. Just where the fleet settings are, you just click upper left corner of it, fleet composition, and you can see your entire fleet, where they are, what ship they're in. It updates about every minute now. So that guy saying he's only 2 hops away, and it turns out he's up in Jeddah. Yeah, you know he's lying. You can make sure that you don't have that Raven or that, you know, Dominic's or something in fleet on the frigate fleet. All right, set up your watch list. If you're running a small gang, you know, under 15, put everybody on fleet on the watch list. Otherwise, you want to put your scouts, a couple of others, and then fill it up. Always have a full watch list. And the reason you should always have a full watch list is it gives you a visual indication of the condition of your fleet and the location of your fleet. We've just gone through the gate. We're starting a line. I see that, you know, even though I have a fleet of 50, I see all 15 of these people are showing on my watch list, you know, with the full bar. So I know the majority, it's good odds, majority of people are already lined, and I'll go ahead and warp the fleet, for example, like that. Set a destination, open Dotlan or print a map, delegate, delegate, delegate. Communicate the purpose of the fleet, the win condition, and set standing orders. The standard setting orders in most every fleet in EVE is hold on gate and hold cloak when you go through a gate. So when you land on the gate, don't be that lemming. You know, tell your fleet. We don't do it so much anymore, but we used to in Redemption Road. Every time somebody lemminged, they were now scout. Okay? So not only do you have to give recon now, you have to recon for the next like 5 or 10 systems. We've just set up different things. And sometimes, well, you know, funny thing is a couple of the best scouts I know, that's how they got started in scouting. They lemminged on a fleet. And then, of course, when you come through a gate, you know, hold cloak. The more you educate and communicate to your fleet members how you want them to fly with you, the better they will fly with you. And the better you will be, too, because you start to trust them more because they're listening and acting on your orders. So it gives you a little confidence. Undock. Can't play if you don't undock. Every FC has their screen. Every player has their screen set up differently. This is how I have mine set up. But almost every FC and most fleet members will have their screen have these particular items open. Fleet without, the overview without fleet members, D-scanner open, brackets on so you can stay aware. Situational awareness is important, where you are in relationship to your fleet, where the targets are. Local chat open and separate from other chats. CCP, please make local chat be a separate window by default. I'm begging you guys. That is really important. And whoever is like your local watch, maybe you've delegated somebody to just shout local spike in comms every time locals spikes. A little trick also, by the way, if you click on one of those fleet members, one of the local people in local, and then go Control A to select all, they're all highlighted. And so anytime local changes, whoever is new that comes into local isn't highlighted. So you can always tell at a glance who the new local is. Watch list, fleet chat. So that's basically what you should have open. I always have my fleet window open. You know that I didn't highlight it there, because a lot of people don't have it open. Doesn't really matter to a lot of people. To me, it does. Usually I have it on the history tab, because that way I can tell if that, destroyer and, that catalyst that just suddenly appeared on grid with us is, what do you call it, a disconnect, a friendly disconnect, because again, I'm mostly flying NPSI, so I don't have any blues. But that's why I do. All right, so we've undocked. Now what? Lead your fleet. You want to make sure your destination is set again. Broadcast. I'm a big fan of broadcasting. Broadcasting destinations, broadcasting align, warp, jump, orders, broadcasting targets. I think it's really important too, because in Eve we all have many different accents and ways of speaking, and everybody's coming from a different background and used to different languages and stuff. Although English may be the predominant language, how we all speak it is different, and that can be different right here in the States from different states to states. I have a hard time understanding people from certain states, and others I have no problem. But if you broadcast it, it makes it a lot easier for everyone to understand. There are players in Eve who are hard of hearing or outright deaf. Broadcasting, they love FCs who broadcast. It also is really good when you have a fleet member who's like, wife is or husband is arguing with them and they didn't pay attention. They can see, and it's like, FC, what was the desto? Check broadcast history. You want to just, get your scouts out there recon reporting. Your scouts, building a good relationship with your scouts is, your scouts make you look good, okay? They really do all the work. The FCs get all the, the applause and stuff, but really it's the scouts that do all the work. They are your eyes, they are your fingers, they're out there grabbing targets for you and killing them, and holding them till the fleet arrives. And it is a great way to know how to move the fleet, what rate to move the fleet, the speed to move the fleet at. Your scout is moving and calling recon, out gate clear, to warp, that it's good to warp to the gate. Then they're calling the next system and to jump, and then you just kind of follow through. Already? Oh, my goodness. I'm going to have to move a little faster. Keep the fleet moving and make decisions. Okay, so we've undocked. Now what? Leading a fleet is as simple as find target, tackle target, kill target, run before target's friends arrive. Okay? That's really what leading a fleet is all about. So, now you found a fight. You found a target. Should you take the fight? Well, how many do they have in local? Do they have logic? Do they have E-word? You can get really caught up, and the flow, the decision-making tree starts to look like this really fast. This flow chart is a 100-year plan to colonize Mars. All right? Just none of that matters. You know what? The only question that matters on whether to take a fight or not is, can you kill one of them? Okay? That is all that matters. Should you take the fight or not? Can we kill one of them? Oftentimes your scouts or your fleet members will tell you yes or no. But if you can't kill one of them, you're not going to take the fight. It doesn't matter what else they have. If you can't kill one of them, doesn't matter. But if you can kill one of them, take the fight. Because you need the experience. You're going to learn more from those fights you take. You don't learn anything from fights you don't take. Okay? So, what to primary? Boy, there's a ton of Reddit threads on this. And, the debates between whether to go for E-War or Logi first or Legendary, I think none of that matters. The only thing that matters to whether or not what to call primary is who's tackled. Exactly. If it's tackled, kill it. Okay? Your scouts and fleet members have a really instinctive, almost psychic ability to find exactly the right ship to tackle and primary first anyway, so trust them. But if it's tackled, kill it. So the next decision, of course, is what to call secondary. This is where, I'm going to just skip that for right now. I'm talking too much. Gee, imagine that. Laura, Greygal talking too much. So target selection essentials. If it's tackled, if it's not tackled, you're not going to kill it. What else you should select? How else to decide what to kill next? It all comes down to these 4 categories. Is it easy to kill? Is it shiny? Is it close to the fleet or the biggest threat? So you look at what else is on the field while you're killing the primary. Oh, that's easy to kill. That's the secondary. Oh, wait, that's shiny. Let's go for that next. Oh, is that that's the biggest threat. Let's kill that. It's close to the fleet. Kill that. Every single target, and this is true for primary and secondary, all target calling, every single possible target in the universe falls into one of these categories. So it doesn't almost matter what kind of ship it is. It matters, is it easy to kill? Is it close to the fleet? Is it a threat? So tips for calling targets. Call ship type, pilot name. Doesn't really matter which order you call it in, but do try and keep it consistent. Repeat it, keep talking, but don't talk so much that you miss information. You want to pause a little bit. You want to focus your fleet on the primary, but prep them for the next move. So you're telling them, this is the primary, kill the primary, and I'm going to get to the video there. Hold on. Sorry, we're running out of time. How does that play? So this is from 2013.
All right, all damage on Flying Spaghetti Monster. Kill him real quick. And then next one is Misery. Let's kill Misery real fast. Misery is primary. Misery is primary. Misery in the Osprey is primary. Kill Misery. Secondary is Virgins in the Typhoon Fleet issue. All damage on Misery. Let's melt him fast. Melt him fast. Melt him fast. Come on, Misery. Die, die, die. All damage on Misery. All damage on Misery. And get ready to switch to Virgins. And switch to Virgins. Virgins in the Typhoon is now primary. Virgins in the Typhoon is now primary. Let's melt them fast, guys. No more bubbles up. We got enough. As soon as you loot the wreck, as soon as we kill Typhoon, get out of the bubbles. Do not shoot the red crosses, because that could possibly spawn more. But get out of the bubbles as fast as you can as soon as you loot. And Virgin is dead. The Virgin is dead. Everyone out of the bubbles, out of the bubbles.
Thank you for your sacrifice. Okay, so even though this is from 2013, I like this particular example of target calling because I'm informing my fleet to focus on the primary, but prepare for the secondary, while at the same time, telling them to also prepare to to leave, for the end. Getting out of the bubble. We don't need more bubbles. That's just going to trap us. And that's what you want to do when you're calling targets. Just repeat the primary, stay on the primary, prep for the next one, and every time you call a secondary, repeat the primary, because otherwise you're going to have people drop the primary and move on to the secondary.
All right, all damage on Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Oops. Okay, so the best reaction to disaster is laughter. Trust me, I burst out laughing when I got the whole fleet ganked. And
oh my God, look at all.
Oops. I say this on almost every single fleet. My God, look at all the pods. I'm sorry. So this is a new player fleet about a year and a half ago. It's only like 20 seconds.
Sino on grid.
Course.
Yep, there's your supers.
There's your supers.
Oh
okay. Oh my God, this is a riot.
Did you just get a new room hot dropped by Supers, GG?
Okay, guys, move away. Move out of the bubbles. Move out of the bubbles.
Yes, I did.
Move out of the bubbles. So that means double click in space until you're no longer in the bubble. Everybody laugh and local. Just talk about how cool that is. They're smart bombing, aren't they? Smart bombing, guys. Get out of the bubble. Get out of the bubble. Now I'm tackled.
The guy with the widescreen, man, he's been on every one of my rooms since he was 2 days old there, or 2 weeks old. But so yeah, when things go bad, suboptimally, laugh. Just have fun with it.
Grid.
This is an hour later.
Of course.
Yep, there's your supers.
There's your supers.
Oh
okay. Oh my God, this is a riot.
Oh wait, wrong one. Wrong one. Hold on. There we go. This is just an hour after that one.
Don't sign up back through the gate.
Yeah, of course, another sino. Just keep shooting them. Start moving out of the bubbles. Start moving out of the bubbles and out of the bubbles. Out of the bubbles. Here we go again. Round 2. Get out of the bubbles. Out of the bubbles. Out of the bubbles. I'm gonna start warping the fleet. Oh my God! Look at that.
How many are there?
The smart
All
bomb
of them.
botted me.
At the end, he's like, "How many were there? All of them, I haven't had anybody hot drop one of my new fleets in a few months. By the way, hint, hint. But I'm laughing, getting kind of like, oh no, it's happening again. But then focusing back, telling everyone what to do to try and save as many as we can.
Don't sign up back.
Okay, so most common FC traps. I'm going to have to put this up on Twitter or something, obviously, so you can all read it later. Data overload, aka analysis paralysis, tunnel vision. But all of these things, dual boxing, don't do it. All of these things are things that we all experience as FCs, even as experienced FCs. I get so focused sometimes on the target and on calling things, I forget to shoot the ships. I would probably have twice as many kills, but I forget to shoot the targets. And half the time, I don't even realize my entire fleet is dead and I'm the last one standing because I'm still focusing on calling the primary and secondary. So that's tunnel vision. Happens all the time. It's normal. Don't worry about it. It gets better. Okay, so let's recap. Your job is to make decisions. You're not bad, you're learning. Leading a fleet is as simple as undock, find target, tackle target, kill target, run away before target's friends arrive. It's as simple as that. Primary calling, if it's tackled, kill it. If it's easy to kill, kill it. If it's a threat to your fleet, if it's shiny, if it's close to your fleet, those are all the things you need to know to decide what to target, what to call as primary or secondary. Okay, so where to practice FC, and I want to give a shout out to a number of organizations that are really welcoming to people who want to give FCing a try, especially Pandemic Horde, RVB, and Brave. Although I say anyone there, slight clarification, if you're a 3-day-old player wanting to take out a fleet, they're not going to let you go out in a fleet of battleships, okay? Roll an alt, throw them into one of those groups. They all love to give people a try at FCing. All right, NPSI groups such as Redemption Road and Spectre Fleet, and most major alliances are really good at supporting new FCs, and of course, your own. So, thank you all for the explosions and the laughter of the last 10 years. It is my honor to call you primary. Keep bringing the fights. You're the reason I log on. Thank you. And I will get this up on Twitter or somewhere so that way you can read what I had to rush through. Okay, I can take some questions. Anybody? Yes? Okay, well, mostly I just yell at them, but in a really, really nice way. You know, I need all DPS on the primary. Everybody on the primary. All of you, I see DPS over here on the secondary. I need it on the primary. If you don't get on the primary, it's not going to die, and we're going to die, and we're going to miss the kill. Things like that. So it's my way of yelling at them without actually yelling. I never yell at my fleet. Yeah.
Come up to the mic if you have a question. If you have a question, just come up to the mic.
Okay. Yeah. Do I use tagging? No, I don't. That's something for PvE, in my opinion. Yeah, and it just clutters things and the brackets and stuff. It's just, it's ineffective. Next, yes?
Hi. So, as a fairly lower skilled player who's trying to get more into PvP, one thing that I run into that kind of frightens me a little bit is ammo management and figuring out ranges for ammo. For an FC or somebody trying to FC, would you just recommend like grabbing one ammo type and running with it no matter what, or?
I'm going to trust my fleet members to pick the right ammo and right guns for the type of fleet I'm running. So if I'm running a brawling fleet, I'm going to trust that they're going to have short range weapons with high DPS ammo.
Okay.
And if they don't, then that's their fail. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
So next, yes. How about response fleets? Okay, so my experience with response fleets has been a little bit less than probably some of the others that I see in the audience. They tend, and that could be a really long answer, but my approach would probably still be the same. Everyone get in a ship, undock, let's go. I'm more of a roaming FC. Yeah, 200, 300 jumps in one of my roams is not unusual. Yeah, and then, it's only been like 3 hours and people are kind of like, is that all? Hey, you can always just get us, I'll just get us all killed and we're back in the starting system anyway. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
Hey, Gigi, I just want to say thanks for, we've never met in person, but I've flown with Redemption Road, and I know Koei, and so we probably go back like 9 years.
Yeah.
The fleets that you helped set up, helped me discover new, kind of gameplay, PvP, and, to the point where, I started going on some of the MPSI fleets with other groups, and I actually ended up getting kicked out of Redemption Road for causing a diplomatic incident, but...
Who are you?
Mirix, United Federation of Conifers.
I don't remember a diplomatic diff.
All right, there must have been too many of them, but...
Oh, but I'm gonna have to touch.
Anyways,
I forgot what happened.
Anyway. the experience and that you helped share it with me, discovering PvP, helped me actually
So I got you addicted to Eve.
Yeah, you got me. Well, PvP, yeah, and then you've shown that being an FC really isn't that really isn't that big of a deal. It's not that hard, and I was actually able to lead some response fleets for my alliance. So I just want to say thanks.
Anyway, and thank you for flying with me. So, anybody else? All right, good. Thank you so much. Oh, wait. Blastum's got one quick question.
Gigi, I've got a question.
Uh-oh.
Can I bring a Drake?
Only if you're our +2 bait. Thank you all again.